Hi, Kurt Jackson here, Retirement Income Strategist with KJ Financial in Liberty, Missouri. Hey, I'm here with this week's Your Money Matters. Today we're going to talk retirement income allocation and overcoming taxes and the cost of health care in retirement and really between now and retirement too, but our main focus will be in retirement. So I want to ask you some questions here, and they'll probably I don't know. Hopefully they'll get you thinking about retirement. It's something I think we kind of just put on autopilot and think that everything's going to be fine, and then when we get to retirement, what's happening is people are finding out things aren't fine. So it's best to learn that early rather than later, don't you think? So what if the stock market makes no gains or loses money for the next decade? How would you be able to build a quality retirement? Or if you're close to or in retirement and that happens, how would you enjoy a quality retirement? What if interest rates stay at 0 to 2% for the next decade? How would you build a quality retirement for yourself if that happened? And I know it's difficult questions to answer because you don't know, and I'm sure that your financial folks are telling you, oh, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, or the market's always up, interest rates have to go up. And I keep thinking interest rates keep having to go up too, but the more I read and the more I study, I don't know. Some things are going to have to happen in order for that to happen, but if it does, then it's a whole different parameter that we're going to have to deal with. I know these are difficult questions to answer, but they come with quite a precedence and evidence to support their occurrence. Did you know that the Dow Jones average was around 10,000 in the year 2000, and then again it was at 10,000 in the year 2010? And there are more and more people predicting, and nobody knows what's going to happen, right? That's the problem. Nobody knows what's going to happen. They're predicting that the Dow Jones average is going to be at 10,000 again in the year 2020. Right. So think about this. Let's talk about interest rates real quick. The U.S. government, the bonds are paying around, like a 10-year bond's paying around 10%, or I'm sorry, God, I got 10 in my head, 2%. The 30-year U.S. bond is paying around 2.5%. So think about that. If that's what the 30-year Treasury is, doesn't the government think that interest rates are going to stay low for the foreseeable future? If a 30-year Treasury rate's at 2.5%, don't you think that they're going to be they think they're going to stay low? How will you save effectively for a quality retirement under these circumstances? All right, now think about this for a minute. I know there's many folks in the industry that advise over and over that asset allocation is the most important consideration for building retirement security. But there's one problem with that. It doesn't work. They'll tell you it works, but the proof is in the pudding, and it doesn't work. See, most Americans aren't good investors. Dalbar, if you follow any of my writings or any of my videos, Dalbar is a research firm that looks at what actual investors are earning. Not what the market, what everybody says the market does or what they say you're earning, but what people are actually earning. And then a new Dalbar study said that most Americans lost 8% of the return that they could have had in the last several years because they don't really understand investing. They buy high and they sell low, which is the exact opposite of and that's because human emotions get involved. Many Americans are arriving at retirement with nothing saved, and even our so-called successful savers, their number is around 140,000. I'm going to post some stuff this week. What was it? 55 to 64, the median retirement assets, 14,500. So that means half had less, half had more. People that were almost at retirement had 104,000. That's median. Okay, that means half have less, half have more. That's terrible. Current retirees, only 8% of current retirees have $500,000 or more in investable assets, not including their house, in retirement. Now, I hate the rule of thumb, but a rule of thumb is, I'm going to use one here just because it helps us explain something really easily. The rule of thumb is, if you were making whatever you were making in your work life, you need 10 times that. Okay, so if you're making 50,000, you need 500,000. Are you telling me that only 8% of people made $50,000? No, a lot more people make more than $50,000 that are retired today. Okay, but only 8% had 500 grand or more. So that begins to tell that actually that's a very telling sign that the 401k has been around since the early 80s. It's been around for more than 30 years. It's a failure, an abject failure. The funny thing is you know, they say that advisors are really good at building money, but they're not really good at income. Well, I'd argue that I know they're not good at building income, but I don't know that they're that good at building wealth either. If only 8% of current retirees have more than 500 grand or more in investable assets, do you think that's a rousing success for financial advisors? So, so we used to have a 5% rule. You could take 5% of your portfolio out, adjust it up for inflation. Then we dropped it to 4%. And recently I heard, I haven't verified this, but I heard that Merrill Lynch has told their advisors to start using 3.5%. So, all right, so 5% didn't work, so spend less. They're telling you you got to spend less, 4%. Now 4% is not working, so you take 3.5%. So why do we keep having to change what we do as consumers? Why doesn't Wall Street change what they do to give? Because there's tools out there that'll do it. I know there's tools. I've seen them. I work with them. Okay. So, actually, current academic research says that safe withdrawal rate is actually around 2.5%. You know what my joke is? Hey, I tell you what, if you don't spend any of your money in retirement, I bet it lasts the rest of your life. Is that how you're going to do it? No. So think about these things. Asset allocation is something that you hear about all the time. Oh, you got to have, you know, properly diversified. You have to, you know, do that asset allocation. And you have to use, but when you do that asset allocation, you have to use all the assets to provide the income that you need in retirement. And if anything upsets that growth scenario, like you have some down years, do you know when the down years are coming? I don't. Nobody does, right? Could they happen before retirement or right in retirement, or maybe you never see them? We don't know, right? That's a lot of maybes. Sorry. But if you have anything that upsets that growth scenario when you're using the asset allocation model, then you got real problems, and your chances of exhausting your retirement income rise exponentially. There are new ideas that are perfect for the times, and we call them retirement income allocation, because we focus on that income allocation rather than asset allocation. What if you only needed half the money in an income allocation strategy that would be necessary to create the same income that would need all the money in an asset allocation strategy? Okay, wouldn't that free up the other half of the money? You know, and I'm just using a generic. Maybe it's not half. Maybe it's 40% less. Maybe it's 30% less. But that would give us 40% or 30% more money to deal with for emergencies or growth or something like that. So what if you could be taking income but build back the original investment amount, keep it liquid, and still continue to provide the income? Doesn't that sound like it has a better chance of succeeding as a retirement strategy? Think about that, okay? Because that's what retirement income allocation does. And you won't hear about that because Wall Street's not going to tell you about that, because they would have to use tools that they don't like to use, because it takes the control of the money out of their hands, and that's where they make their money. That's my opinion. That's what all my research has shown me. So if I could ask for a favor, try this sometime. Just Google the title, Americans Spend More on Taxes than more on taxes and healthcare than on food, clothing, and shelter. Okay, you're going to find a wide variety of articles from different sources, but you're going to find that what I'm saying is true here. We find that people over and under the age of 65, that they're going to be consumed by healthcare costs or taxes or both, which is going to leave very little even for people with money to have a great quality of life. That's astonishing, right? And this is happening sooner rather than later. Do you find this information surprising? I kind of did, but I've kind of become jaded. I guess I've become jaded over the last, 12 years, because I started doing this research in 2003. Do you realize that in just 8 years, 80 to 90% of America is going to struggle just to pay healthcare costs with the way that they're growing? Won't Americans then struggle enough to have enough money for food, clothing, shelter, housing? Will the government let these people go hungry? Will they let people go without shelter? Will they let people go without health care? So where are we going to get the money for all this? Won't they go after the people with money? Isn't that why they're giving all these speeches about income inequality? Will the government eventually close the strategies that allow us to help keep your money in the family? Won't the people allowed to use these strategies, the ones that are still allowed to be people who put them in place before they've made those changes in the law? Do you want to give your money to people that did not make the effort that you did to build your assets, the ones that are required for financial security, or do you want to keep your money in the family? If you don't take some action soon, do you think the government will transfer your money so they can take care of the rest of America? Right. You know, let's assume you've got some money. You've done a great job. Now most of your gains are going to be, going to someone other than your family. Did you realize that this is going on? That they're putting these things into place to happen? I mean, they're already doing it little pieces by pieces. I mean, with the healthcare law, we've got people that make enough money that don't have to pay subsidies. The subsidies are coming out of taxes, right? So they've already started to do that. Are you okay with that? If you could do something to prevent that from happening, when would you want to get started? Okay. And I know a lot of you out there going, oh, Kurt, that's not fair. They couldn't do that. They're already doing it. Okay, and they're trying to do it more. Just open your eyes, folks. Don't believe the rhetoric. Look below the surface. Okay, and I'm not talking just about one side or the other. They're all trying to do it. Some, the right acts like they're not, but they are. They spend money almost as much as the left does. So, even if it isn't fair, because I agree it's not fair. Won't they do it anyway? They're already doing it. So. Will people be, so are you okay with people unfairly profiting from your work, from your sacrifices? I know I'm not. And that's one of the reasons why I'm out trying to help people with all this. All right, so let me go over this. Hopefully I'll get this real quick. I'm going a little longer. I keep going longer than I want. So, all right, so we've been reading articles about being back to even, okay, because the market's back up. All right, so the NASDAQ on March 10th, 2000 was at 5,048. On April 23rd, 2015, the NASDAQ returned to 50.56, so for the first time since 2000. The Nikkei 225, which is Japan, was 20,000 in the year 2000. Did you know the high of the Nikkei was 39,000? I can't remember when that was. And it just crossed over 20 grand again, or 20,000 for the first year since 2000. So most of what I've read and what you've probably heard is that the market has recovered. What they cleverly exclude in all of this is the inflation of 2% or a number higher than that. These markets haven't returned even. So using 2000 NASDAQ of 5,048, if we use simple interest, no compounding, okay, at 2% inflation for 15 years, the NASDAQ would need to be at 65.63, not at 5,048. Would need to be at 3%, it needs to be at 73.20, not 5,048. And at 4%, the number is 8,077, not 5,048. For the Nikkei 225, it was 20,000 in the year 2000. The break even at 2% inflation is 26,000. At 3%, it's 29,000. And at 4%, it's 32,000. So when they tell you that it's back to even, it's not. Okay, because they're not taking into account for inflation. Because the money, the $100,000 15 years ago doesn't buy what $100,000 will buy today. That it takes more. So keep that in mind. Okay. So after I talk about this and all my stuff, the point I'm trying to get across, folks, is traditional retirement isn't working. Do you think it sounds like it's working? If you follow any of my readings or on my writings or my videos, I continue to put more and more information out there that I find when I'm doing my research that tells us that it's not working. So if the sooner you did something, the more you would have. When would you want to do something about it? So if that's something that you're interested in maybe talking about or exploring, see if I'm all wet, see if I'm making all this stuff up just to get you to call me. Give it a shot. See what if I'm right? Okay. Would you rather have found out that I was right now and fixed it for the future, or wait till you get to retirement to find out, oh crap, Kurt was right 20 years ago? So my information will be up there on the screen. Just give me a shout, email me. Check out our maxmyretirementincome.com. I got all kinds of different information out there. I got all kinds of videos. Go to my YouTube channel, which is Retirement Bliss TV. And I've got all kinds of videos to go over this information. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you found value in this, please share the link with anyone that might be worried about retirement or would like to have a secure retirement. That's what we're here about to do, is to help people have that secure retirement. Hope you have a great week. Thanks for tuning in.